There is no right way to do the wrong thing. Section 1. Clarifying the movement. Veganism is not a diet. It's not a trend. It's not a personal choice among many. Veganism is a stance against all injustice, a stance against the use of all sentient life, whether that's for food, for fashion, for entertainment, for experiments, for any purpose. Wherever other animals are used, rights are violated. No exceptions, no excuses. Does a farm keep animals? That's a rights violation. Does a laboratory imprison them? That's a rights violation. Does a zoo display them behind glass or bars? That too is a rights violation. It does not matter whether the cages are small or large. It does not matter whether the treatment is gentle or rough. What matters is that they are used without consent, their freedoms taken, their bodies owned, their lives controlled. There is no right way to do the wrong thing, and all use of other animals in any form is always wrong. But this stance does not stop at our fellow animals, because veganism is part of a greater fight, a fight against all oppression in all of its variations, whether it is based on species, race, sex, ability, class, or any other line drawn to divide and dominate. Oppression is oppression. Injustice is injustice, and veganism rejects all of it. Because we do not oppose just some discrimination, we oppose all discrimination. We do not redraw arbitrary lines, we shatter them. We say no cage, no chain, no wall, no whip for anyone. This is not about better treatment, this is about ending use, ending ownership, ending the idea that any sentient being can be reduced to property, to product, to a tool, or a thing. Veganism is not the ceiling, it is the floor, it is the starting point, not the end, and justice is the goal. Liberation is the demand. This film is for those who are ready to take that stance, for those ready to reject use, not just reduce harm, for those ready to stop asking how to do better and start saying instead, this must stop immediately, entirely. There is no right way to do the wrong thing. Go vegan, be vegan, stand for justice, stand for liberation, stand for something. Section 2. Universal rights violations. Across every corner of the world, other animals are used, and wherever they are used, their rights are denied. It doesn't matter if it's a global empire or a backyard shed, a gleaming laboratory or a rundown roadside stall, one person in the woods or $1 billion brand. All use is a rights violation. Always. We kill them for their flesh. We exploit them for their milk, for their eggs or honey. Marine life are pulled from the sea, trapped, suffocated, ground alive, their bodies turned into products. Their exploitation is hidden behind words like natural, humane, and sustainable. They are skinned for fashion. Their fur is ripped out, their hides tanned. Wool is torn from sheep, feathers from birds, over and over. Silkworms are boiled alive simply to make thread. All of it is labelled luxury, often labelled cruelty-free. Other animals are forced to perform for us. Elephants beaten into submission, tigers and orcas turned into entertainers, horses are whipped to exhaustion, then discarded, bulls stabbed and then let loose in arenas to be killed by a matador. Dogs and birds are made to fight, for bets, for blood, for fun. We experiment on other animals, mice, rats, rabbits and monkeys locked in cold metal boxes, cats poisoned, dogs dissected, even the fish, who many claim don't even feel, are still tested on. their lives reduced to data points, to numbers on a page. If the moral implication wasn't bad enough, this data isn't even reliably transferable and has a very high failure rate when utilised in human trials. They are made to do our labour. Donkeys and camels breaking under tourist loads, horses bound to carriages in heavy traffic, elephants trained with pain and used like machines. Their strength is taken, their will is ignored. We breed and sell them, whether those dogs in mills, birds in cages, or cats in your next door neighbour's living room. Reptiles and other exotic animals are brought, traded and confined, their instincts erased, their natural nature crushed, all for companionship. No, all for profit. And this is not rare. This is not the extreme or the exception. This is normality, or at least the normality we have allowed to come into fruition. And it is important that we recognise that even if all of those treatments above were better, all of those standards above were perfect, it would change nothing about the fundamental wrong. These animals are unable to consent to us. They are unable to give us permission. Everything that we do to them, therefore, is a rights violation. This is unavoidable. This is not about size. This is not about scale. It is about principle. If other animals are used, then their rights are violated, whether that's in a backyard or a global empire, whether it's for food, for fashion, fun, science, or even companionship. It is a rights violation. So what is a rights violation? It's basically an infringement on someone else's freedom. It's not just pain. It's not just suffering. It's using someone without their consent for your own benefit. And if we were to put this in a number of examples, would we accept it if it were done to another human? If a child were taken and raised for her milk, would we call that humane? If someone was killed just because we liked the taste of them, would we still call that a personal choice? If a person was kept behind glass in a zoo, or bred and sold in a pet store, would we still call that entertainment or companionship? The answer is clear, no, and even a child would know it. If it's not okay to do it to a human, then it's not okay to do it to someone else. That's what rights means. It means that your body is your own, that your freedom is your own. Your life is not for sale, not for show, not for someone else to take or make decisions regarding. And other animals feel, other animals think, other animals resist, other animals want to live. They are not just products, they are not tools, and they are definitely not things. All use is a rights violation. All ownership is exploitation. All exploitation is oppression. There is no kind way to own somebody else. There is no gentle way to steal someone else's freedom. There is no right way to do the wrong thing.
We know what it feels like to be used, to have our rights denied, our bodies controlled, our futures decided for us, our voices silenced. What it is like to be victims. We understand that commonality. That's why we speak for them.
Section 3. Why reform is not justice. They tell us things are changing. They tell us the conditions are improving. They say, the cages are bigger now. The slaughter is more humane now. The animals get more time outside now. Then they'll point to their labels, cage-free, free-range, grass-fed, organic. But we must ask, is a bigger prison still a prison? If the walls are all painted nicely and the floors are carpeted, does that change what it is? If the door is left open, but you still can't leave, are you free? Let's put this more simply. If someone is still being owned, still being controlled, still being used, that is still always a violation. A warm prison doesn't stop being a prison. A kind owner doesn't stop being an owner. And killing someone gently is still killing. Imagine someone said, "I don't beat my dog, I just sell her puppies." Would we call that compassionate? Or would we ask why she's being bred and the puppies sold at all? Imagine someone else said, "I don't hit my horse, I just ride him for fun." Would we call that ethical, even though the horse has no say? If the victim is unaware, is it still a killing? If the execution is quick, is it still an execution? If we smile whilst we're doing it, does that make it just? These labels are not just for the other animals. They're for the humans. They're there for our comfort. They exist to ease and appease guilt, not to stop violence. Justice is not comfort. Justice is not less harm. Justice is not improved oppression. Justice is freedom. Justice is the absence of oppression. People say humane slaughter, but that's an oxymoron. There's no such thing, because there is no humane way to kill someone who does not want to die. Those are the facts, and it would never change with better lighting or with softer hands. And this is why veganism is not about better farms, not about cleaner slaughterhouses, not about higher welfare. It is about ending use itself, ending exploitation itself, ending the lie that violence can be done nicely, because empty cages, not comfortable ones, are the goal. Freedom and not free range is the goal. Liberation and not regulation is the goal. There is no reform that makes injustice just. There is no version of violence that becomes kindness. There is no right way to do the wrong thing. Section 4. The language of use. Language shapes our world. It shapes how we speak. It shapes how we think. And if your language is limited, thus your thinking is limited. Words are not neutral. Words are carriers of values. They can reveal injustice, or they can hide it. And when it comes to our fellow animals, our language has been carefully shaped to hide this truth, to make violence sound normal, to make exploitation sound reasonable, to make living beings sound like things. People say livestock, but what they mean is sentient life. People say product, but what they mean is someone else's body or bodily fluids. People say it, but what they are talking about is a someone. That one word, it, instantly turns a sentient life into an object. Not a person, not an individual, just a thing. But when they say instead of it, when we say someone instead of something, we bring them back into view. We restore their presence. We remind ourselves that this being exists. This being matters. That's why a hunter would say, "I harvest it for food. I'm grateful for its sacrifice." But if we speak honestly, we'd say, as a killer, I took the life of someone who did not want to die. They did not offer their life to me. It was not a gift. I stole it. Changing simply a few words exposes the entire illusion of this oppression.
They call women cows to mock our bodies, to devalue us. Or rats to make us seem unclean, untrustworthy. Dogs, bitches, snakes, pigs. The insults are so often the names of other animals. As it is established already, they are beneath them. and that's how they want you to feel too. It's always derogative, always objective, always the same. That's not random, it's the language of power and the power of language. Repeated by a culture that is taught to be speciesist, taught to discriminate or subjugate out of fear, desire, ignorance or malice. But that curse can be cured. Those lies can be doused with truth and these many wrongs can be righted. We hold the power. We just have to demand that instead.
People will say harvest, but they mean killing. People will say processing, but they mean dismembering. They say meat, but they mean body part. They say dairy, but they mean stolen baby calf milk. They say animal abuser, but what do they mean? To most people, that's someone who punches a cow or kicks a dog. So when a high welfare dairy farmer gently milks a cow, they don't feel called out by that, because they think cruelty is about the how and not what they do. This is where we go wrong, because when we use the oppressor's words, we fight using their rules, and that means only they win. They own the board. To the average person, cruelty means something extreme, something unnecessary. They don't see routine use as cruel, they see it as normality. So when we chant, "Stop animal cruelty," they think, "I agree, that's why I buy free-range eggs." See, use is the problem. Not just the pain, not just the method. Use, ownership, exploitation, the rights violation, not the violation of comfort. So we must stop arguing over these definitions and instead just start using different words, stronger words, words with more conviction. And then there's how we speak about each other. We call people rats, we call them pigs, we call them dogs, snakes, vultures. Why? It's because we've already been trained to see those animals as beneath us, as dirty, selfish, violent, lesser. It's not an accident, it's conditioning, it's programming. We call someone a love rat when they're unfaithful in a relationship, even though rats often mate for life. We insult people by calling them what we already oppress. It's speciesism, internalized and then weaponized. This is how injustice spreads. This is how injustice perpetuates. Through words, through stories, through jokes, through the quiet, constant repetition of ideas that may seem harmless, but they shape how we think, and they shape how we treat others. But we can rewrite all of this. That's the beauty of language. We can change the way that we speak, and we can edit the way that we type. We can stop hiding violence behind soft words and labels. We can stop using the language of power and domination, and instead start using the language of truth and liberation. When we change our words, we automatically change our thoughts. And when we change our thoughts, we change the world. So let us speak up loudly for them, but let us speak clearly and succinctly, and let our language be the first act of liberation.
You cannot ever truly talk about freedom whilst rights are still denied. Until they are acknowledged, recognized and respected, real freedom is just an idea. This requires far more than a change of legislation. It needs a shift in our mentality, an evolution in how we think, and so that we naturally extend where we show respect and by virtue, who we consider. Until then, all we will ever do is give oppression and exploitation new names and industries.
Section 5. Activating others. Now that you see the truth, what will you do? See, veganism is the first step, but not the last, because justice is not passive. Justice requires action. It requires voice. It requires clarity. If animals are victims of oppression, then silence is not neutral. silence automatically sides with the oppressor. So we must speak out. We must continue to educate. We must continue to activate others so that we can build a movement not of consumers, but of resistors. First, we all must understand the fundamental wrong, and that is not suffering, and it is not cruelty, it is use. Any use without consent is a rights violation, no exceptions. Secondly, we need to speak with more moral clarity. We need to refrain from talking about the treatment and begin talking about justice. We need to refrain from talking about less suffering and instead demand no more use. We need to refrain from talking about bigger cages and instead remind the object is no cages. There's no such thing as humane slaughter, it's simply unjust killing. We want liberation, not regulation. We want freedom, not free range, and we want rights, not welfare. But what if people push back? What about if they say, well, plants have feelings. What about other animals? They eat meat. These are not real questions from real interested people. These are simply deflections. And the reason that they're asked is because these people have no idea what veganism is. They assume that veganism is a diet, or a lifestyle, or a personal choice, something that they can simply opt out of. But it's so important that we remind them, this is not about diet. This is not about health. This is not about any of our own personal preferences. This is a social justice movement with moral obligations.
They taught us to be polite, to be just like them, to stay small and stay quiet, to nod along and not disturb the order, disturb normality. But justice was never handed to those who waited, and peace won't ever occur by repeating violence. Liberation comes to those who disrupt the silence, not those who obey it.
It is about opposing all oppression. It is about refusing to participate in the violation of someone else's rights. When people understand that, they will stop asking, why are you vegan? And start asking themselves, why am I not? And that's precisely the shift that we need. We need to be creating not just vegans, but abolitionists. People who don't just avoid injustice, they actively oppose it. They actively speak about it, and they actively activate others to do the same. When they do outreach, there's no need for inreach. We don't create vegans who stop at food or think that this is simply something they can pick up and drop when it suits. We create vegans who understand the fundamental wrong. They're not consumers, they're liberators. They're not welfareists, they're abolitionists. Someone who says clearly, other animals are not ours. Their bodies are not ours. Their use is never justified. Their liberation is non-negotiable. This is how we grow. This is how we win. One consistent voice, constantly speaking the truth, activating and empowering one another, and another, and another, every single day until all of this oppression ends. Section 6. The Call for Abolition and Liberation. Now picture this. A world without cages. A world without chains. A world without slaughterhouses. Without animal testing laboratories. Without any exploitation. Picture our fellow animals as no longer being seen as property. No longer being seen as commodities, no longer being seen as things to be used. Picture them free, not in cages, but in sanctuaries or in the wild. Not behind bars, but simply under open skies. Not owned, but liberated. Let's create a world where a mother cow never again has to be worried about being separated from her calf, and a pig can roll comfortably in the earth without having to be worried about concrete or a fish swimming in the ocean will never recognize a net. A bird in the air will never know the sound of a gunshot. This doesn't have to be a dream. This doesn't have to sound idealistic. This is what justice sounds like. And it doesn't begin with reform. And it doesn't begin with better treatment. It begins with abolition. It begins with non-compliance. It begins with non-use. And it begins with you. Because veganism is not the ceiling. It is the floor. It is where justice begins, not where it ends. A vegan world is not a plant-based society. A vegan world is a society that has rejected oppression itself, that has torn down every single arbitrary line, whether that's species, race, sex, ability, class, all of it is gone. A world that still allows any animal use, even gentle use, is not a vegan world. A world that ends all non-human animal use but allows racism, homophobia or any other tyranny is not a liberated world. It is just a different form of injustice with a different name. True veganism is the total opposition to domination, to ownership, to exploitation. It is the call for universal liberation, and the only way we ever see that world is by creating true vegans, people who understand and have connected with the why, people who live by those principles, people who carry the message forward with clarity, with courage, with conviction. We don't need any more half measures. We don't need any more slightly better choices. We need a movement that's consistent, a movement that says no more cages, no more chains, no more victims, not for food, not for culture, not for profit, not for anyone. A movement that constantly cements the idea that this is not a diet, this is not a trend, this is a revolution in values. So stand on the side of liberation, stand on the side of freedom, stand on the side of justice and say no more, not in my name, not in this world. We can end the violence, we can end the exploitation, and we can end the oppression, but only if we speak out, only if we unite, only if we educate, only if we create other abolitionist vegans who create more abolitionist vegans who carry the truth every day until every cage is free.
A world built on exploitation isn't broken. It's working exactly as intended for those who profit from it. But those same systems will turn on you too if they haven't already. Oppression never stays neatly contained, it never stays quiet. That's why we can't either. That's why we are not asking for kinder or tidier versions of violence or injustice. We're demanding an end to all of it now.
This is the call. This is the moment. This is the movement for abolition. And it begins, as always, with you.
This was never about new and improved versions of oppression. It was about ending it, all of it, completely and indefinitely. Not someday. Not when it's convenient, not when it's cheaper or easier or your friends think it's trendy. Now, go vegan. Live vegan. Refuse their systems. Align your morals with your actions. And know this. Liberation will truly begin the moment we stop pretending injustice can be done kindly. Peace will finally be known when we recognize we cannot evolve using violence.